Greetings, friends! Well, I made it. A few weeks ago, I left for the Homesteaders of America conference and made it back home. And no, I haven't been gone all this time. It was just for the weekend. I left before the weekend started and then left as the weekend finished. But I'm back, even though it was hairy at times. And this was a time that we were having the gas shortages. You remember those? We were having the gas shortages here on the East Coast. And it was hairy because if I hadn't gotten gas before we left for the trip, I wouldn't have been able to go because all the gas in the gas stations around us, there wasn't any. And I wasn't sure when we were gonna get any. But thankfully I'd filled up. And then we had left for the trip. It was actually my son Josiah and I, because my wife and I decided that she and our other children were going to just stay back home because we got this homestead to take care of and we have animals here. And what happens if we all went and we got stranded somewhere and couldn't make it back in time, and then our animals wouldn't have anybody to take care of them or feed them, and then we'd lose them. So we decided just to split up and for me to head to the conference. And as I was heading to the conference, we were almost at the point of no return where I was like, well, I gotta make sure we have some gas to get to the conference. And if I don't, I need to make sure we need to start to turn this thing around and head back home. So we stopped at that point just before the point of no return and stopped at a gas station. And then while I was at the gas station, I was like, whoa, there's no gas here. So what do? Do I head on back? But I looked across the road and I saw some people filling up their cars at another gas station. So I hopped over there to that gas station, filled up, and then we made the trek all the way to where we needed to go at Rory Feek's farm in Tennessee for the Homesteaders of America conference. So got a hotel room, stayed overnight, and the next morning we got there early at Rory Feek's farm, and we're really excited about being there. It was a beautiful morning, and then people just started rolling in, and you could just feel the energy and the excitement building there as people just looked eager to be there at this event. Si, are you ready for the Homesteaders of America conference here in Tennessee? Yeah. And it was so exciting to see the volumes of people that were coming in and lining up to be here at this conference. And I'm sure it was on the hearts and minds of many of them, everything that had happened last year with the pandemic, as well as the gas shortages that we were dealing with, as well as the price increases of food and the rumors of food shortages. So that, I'm sure, added to the motivation for people to be there to learn more about how to take these things more into their own hands and be able to provide for their families. And the conference had a wide variety of excellent presenters and speakers, like my friend Maureen Diaz from Weston A. Price.
Seeds are designed with protective factors so that they don't sprout to start a new plant or a new crop until the conditions are right. And those conditions are varying degrees of warmth, acidity, it takes time, and moisture. So when we make a sourdough bread or any of these other methods, we're doing a full fermentation which neutralizes the enzyme inhibitors and the phytic acid. The phytic acid specifically also is what binds to minerals in your gut. So if you're eating a quick bread or bread from the store, not only are you potentially damaging your gut lining because enzyme inhibitors and phytic acid are not broken down and they're irritating, but you're also going to lose some of the mineral content in the foods that you're eating. So that's obviously not an ideal thing.
As well as my buddy Justin Rhodes.
We got such a big bus for our farm tour because we figured we might move. And we were going to park that bus and live in it until. And that's perfect because you could theoretically live in that RV on the land and observe for a while before you go build something permanent.
And even his wife Rebecca gave a great talk on homeschooling.
We get history and science just in daily life. We don't do a curriculum for that. And it's a really great because you know, as Justin and I are talking about current events, our children ask us questions, and then we start talking more about that. You know, we expound to what they're able to learn, not necessarily, you know, going super deep. Like my children, we had a really great conversation not too long ago about World War II, and like they were just asking me so many questions, and we probably talked for like an hour about it. And you know, we look up YouTube videos, or we can find a book to read about it.
And I also had a chance to meet Jill Winger for the first time, and she gave a great talk on how to make better food choices without going mentally crazy.
Okay, last one on my better list is to make homemade broth from your store-bought chickens. Maybe you can't do the pastured chickens quite yet, but you're still making broth from scratch, and it's not coming from the carton of that brown water stuff, which I'm not really even sure what that is, but it says broth on the label, but it's not very good. Once you've had real broth, you will never go back.
And one of the things that was really different about this conference is it was more focused on hands-on learning. It was a workshop combined with presentations. And Melissa Norris gave some excellent advice on gardening and growing tomatoes.
So those are tomatoes, and when you're seed starting your tomatoes, it's usually about anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks before that last harvest frost in the spring that you ideally want to be starting those indoors. So knowing those dates, and then also for planting out when you're going to be transplanting them.
And on the second part of her talk, she took attendees out to the garden where she was showing them hands-on how to do trellis gardening with tomatoes.
Woohoo! So a lot of you guys may or may not know this, but when you're planting your tomatoes, tomatoes is one of the, you'll see like there are nodules all along this stem. Those will all become roots. So this isn't true of all plants, but it is with tomatoes. So we want to pinch off bottom leaves, and we want to bury this baby really deep. So we're going to toss those out. So we're going to dig our hole here.
Okay, I'll do this one. Do you want the next one?
Yeah.
I'll do the next one.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. And then you want to make sure the hole is deep enough.
That one off too? Oh,
Yeah, take that one off. Yeah.
Oh,
Right?
I still use
Awesome. Yeah. And then you'll want to go the soil depth like right up to that bottom leaf.
Leave this one on the right.
And on our way to the conference, I asked Josiah, I was like, who do you look forward to seeing most at the conference? And you know who he said? He said Joel Salton. I was like, really? Yeah, I look forward to seeing Joel too. So actually when we saw him, he didn't see us, but we snuck up behind him and we saw him, and then he saw us.
They have an income.
He wanted to give you a hug. And also Josiah wanted to give him a big hug, and he gave him one. And Joel is one of those people that I really enjoy hearing what he has to say. It's like he's constantly coming up and saying things that are just so beneficial.
Now, a lot of times when you're in a dysfunctional macro ecosystem, especially in the Midwest where you've got corn and beans and square miles of corn and beans and corn and beans, monocultures, those are an extremely dysfunctional ecosystem. And there's a lot of imbalance. My best story was a fellow out in Indiana, started raising these chickens, and he just had raccoons. He just could not get ahead of the raccoons. Fortunately, he was a former Army guy, and so he set up 4 spotlights, floodlights on the corner of his house. And he set the alarm at 2 o'clock in the morning. He got up and just took his rifle and walked the 4 sides of the house, flipping on the lights, and in a week, he shot like 24 raccoons. I mean, didn't even come out of his jammies, you know, just open the window, plug them, right? And he didn't have another raccoon attack for 2 years. The predators, they learn when they're welcome or not. Okay, they talk, and they have their conferences, and that place over there, that's not a friendly place. And sometimes you have to go in as a human and reestablish presence in a place, because things move into a vacuum, and when there's a vacuum, it gets occupied by something. And so some of these really dysfunctional landscapes, especially in corn and bean country, that's at least what my experience is, is some of the most dysfunctional landscape around, and so you get just this heavy influx. And so sometimes you have to kind of reestablish a perimeter, you know.
And I mentioned that this conference was a hands-on workshop. Well, Joel, after his part of his presentation, he took attendees out and they had the opportunity to be hands-on with processing chickens. And many of them, it was their first time doing so. But there's nothing like learning hands-on. You can watch all these YouTube videos that you want, and they do help. However, when you have the opportunity to put your hands on something and do it for the first time, that's real learning. I remember watching Joel and them on videos on YouTube and saying like, oh, they make it look so easy, and I go actually do it the first time. It's like, oh, it's a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be.
Why he came here, he's like, you can watch and read as much books as you can. It's better if you come out here.
Exactly right. And with this conference being a hands-on workshop, it was at a perfect place to do it because it was at the farm of Rory Feek, musician, his farm, but it also lines up with what he is doing on his farm. Not only is it a farm, it also has a schoolhouse that is dedicated to hands-on learning with children. And during this conference, there was a kids-steaders area that they had set up in the area where Rory has his schoolhouse for children to learn at. And the kids were doing so many different things, and Josiah, after we walked around for a little bit, he wanted to go over there and do some of the things that the kids were doing. And I let him have the opportunity to do that. So I have to go away so you can make it a surprise for me when I come back and see what you make? Yes. Alrighty. So as he was working on this project in the kids area, I walked around and had the opportunity to just see all the different things that the kids have the opportunity to do here. And I must say I was pretty jealous at seeing their garden shed. It was really, really neat and tidy. And he also has a greenhouse for the children, where they also have kid-sized wheelbarrows in. And I really, really like the garden space that he has for the kids. There's water troughs with each kid's name on it, growing a variety of different things like beets and broccoli and peppers. And right behind their playground, they have this barn that's set up just for the kids as a brooder, a place where they can raise chicks and be hands-on with them. And seeing all this, I was really impressed by what they're doing with the children and giving them an opportunity to learn hands-on. But in addition to all this, I had the opportunity to also look inside their schoolhouse. And as I looked around inside there, I could see the values and the foundation that they are trying to instill and teach the kids. Pretty amazing. And then as I came out of the schoolhouse and I looked to the left and I saw this root cellar, and it was the prettiest root cellar that I had ever seen, and it had all these plants decorated nice and neatly around it, and it was just, it's like a little hobbit house, earthen hobbit house. It was just really neat, and it was just, it inspired me to want to do something similar. And then after that, Josiah was wrapping up with his project, and he showed me what he created.
Hey, you should tell him your joke.
You got the joke? Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow? I like that.
Okay, you're gonna do more, okay? Sorry. Got it?
What do you call a pile of cats?
What do you call it?
A meowton.
Oh, the
meowton.
meowton. Yeah, the kid joke. That's funny.
Okay, alright.
That is pretty cool. What are those? Ninja Turtles?
Turtle.
Ninja Stick Men. What are their names?
Raphael. Leonardo.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Sticks. Good job, buddy.
Thanks.
You having a good time?
Yep.
So after we left the kids area, we went around interacting and meeting various people. And it's always neat to go to these events and meet people who watch our channel and have the opportunity to just interact with various types of people who are all inspired to a common thing, homesteading and this way of life. And we had the opportunity to meet a couple who is moving to the same state that we live in. So I just met a really neat couple, and they have a really neat story to tell, because they just told me, but you guys got to hear it too. So what did you just tell me?
We're making the jump. We've sold everything we've owned and gathering all of our funds, and we're gonna go start with a raw piece of land and see where it goes.
Yep, we just bought 10 acres over in North Carolina. We're gonna build our own house. We've sold our house here and sold half of our company, pretty much everything we own, and we're moving over, and we have 3 kids.
Yep. Kids love it.
That is awesome, but probably scary too.
Yeah, very much.
It's very scary.
But it's still awesome.
Yeah.
I've had to argue with myself a lot and tell myself I'm not crazy. A lot of people do it. I don't want to think I'm crazy. I know it's possible.
Yeah.
But what was it that inspired you to do it? What gave you the pride to make this change of life? Why?
It was a lot of things. I think it's just the way society is in general. People they don't really care about each other around the cities.
Yeah.
That's just what it seems to me. I may be wrong, but
we wanted a better quality of life for the kids too. Grow up in
food quality. You know, you go to the store and you see the chickens and you see the red spots on it and the bruise. And God knows what they've done to that chicken.
That's right.
They've killed it.
Well, and we want the kids to know where their food's coming from. It doesn't come from a grocery store. We want them to work for their food and reap what they sow.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is so exciting. So I look forward to it. And then I had the opportunity to chat with the person who's responsible for all the Homesteaders of America events. And this lady puts a lot of effort and labor of love and sacrifice into putting these events together. And she has to deal with the criticisms and all the other things that go along with putting something like this together, and dealing with people like me. That I have the opportunity that she has invited me out a number of times to be a speaker at some of the events, and I really appreciate everything that Amy Fuel does. Alrighty, so I'm here with Amy, and you're responsible for all this going on here. What were you thinking? What were you thinking in putting all this together?
So it's always a funny story, because I always tell people that I didn't really want to do it, but I saw a need for homesteading community. A lot of it's online, but we couldn't find it necessarily in person.
Yeah.
And so I kind of said, I'll do it if it'll fall together. Like, it has to be a God thing.
Yeah.
You know? And so in 2016 we started it. 2017 was our first event, and then this will be our 5th year in Virginia, and this is the first year here in Tennessee. So it's grown a lot.
That it is so great. I'm having a blast here in Tennessee, and then each time that we've been in Virginia, it's been an absolute wonderful time. and appreciate all the work that you all do in putting this together.
Yeah.
What was the initial spark for you to even put together something like this for everybody to attend? Because you're a homesteader yourself.
Right.
Did you feel like there was a need?
I did. I personally didn't have community in our area.
Okay.
I had them online, and that's great, but I wanted the people to be here with me, and I don't really travel a lot, so I'm like, well, if I can't travel, then I'll make one.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the first year we thought we'd have 300 people, and we had 1,500 people, and we realized, oh, hey, there's other people like us that want to do this too, so it was pretty cool.
That is great. That is great. So how do you feel about this? Is just the first day of this event, and this is the first time that it's been here. How do you feel that it's gone so far? Is it a success?
I feel like it's gone great. Yeah, there's some learning curves with a new event. I've never been here before, so I planned it all from Virginia and a Google map, and
man, impressive.
And so we have changed some things around, like the logistical side of it, but overall we've gotten, people love the intimacy of this event. Our Virginia event has, you know, 5,000 people a day. This only had 350 people a day, so it's definitely different this year for a Tennessee event. It's more hands-on workshops, it's more learning intentionally, you know, 2-hour sessions versus 1-hour sessions, so it's really neat.
And just being here, this is one of the things that I really like. It's one thing to watch something on YouTube and learn how to do something, or just watch somebody and giving a talk. But here, having the opportunity to see workshops and be hands-on is something that is to the next level and really will benefit the attendees here in a much deeper way. So I don't know if you were responsible for that idea of making it a hands-on workshop, but it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, and people are loving it. So we have a couple different groups of people. We have the homesteaders who've been homesteading and who are just really coming to learn more. And then we have the brand new people who are coming out of a pandemic. Who are like, I really want to learn how to do this. We had a chicken butchering workshop this morning, and everyone got to butcher a chicken with Joel Salton, and they came away saying, I feel like I can do this now. They didn't think that, you know, you can watch videos like you said, but they actually got to, they were covered in blood and feathers, and, and they were happy about it because they finally had somebody that could teach them how to do it. That was our goal with this event.
Great. So think there'll be one here again next year?
I think so. We'll have to see.
As soon as she puts the sign up for advertising this, I want to come, and I encourage you guys to come too. And planning to be a speaker at the event in Virginia, so make sure you're there. And for those who can't attend either one, you have the online ability for people to watch.
We don't have it for the Tennessee event since this is our first year. We didn't record anything, but we do record the Virginia event every year, so you can actually get a membership. If you get a VIP membership, you can go back and watch the lectures. And this year we actually are live streaming the Big Barn in Virginia, so if you get the VIP upgrade, you can watch that portion of the Virginia event live.
And I will leave all that information in the show notes below, so make sure you check it out and get your tickets, guys. And if you missed out on this event, man, did you miss out. But you can still get the next best thing, which is an HOA membership, which gives you the opportunity to view online a number of the presentations that have taken place at conferences throughout the year, as well as gives you an opportunity to get first dibs on tickets to events like this one, which only offered a limited amount of tickets for a limited amount of time. So you can check out the show notes below for information on how you can become a Homesteaders of America member. But one of the things that I asked myself after this conference is, was it worth it? Can I just watch it online or just not go? We're having to deal with the gas shortages and all the stress that was going on with that and getting the hotel room and all that. Was it worth it? And I want to say, yes, it was. You can watch it online, but it's so much more being in person, being hands-on like I mentioned earlier, and having the opportunity to connect with people, various people from various backgrounds, have the opportunity to talk with the speakers and so many others. You can't replace that. You can't replace that in-person connection. It's what we're meant to have. And while we were there, we just had an amazing time, and it was just an amazing farm. And just seeing all the different things that goes on there is just pretty amazing. Josiah really enjoyed seeing Rory's classic blue car. And I really enjoyed seeing Rory's garden and how he had these labels, these markers for each of his garden beds where he was growing each item. But one of the things that impacted me the most was having an opportunity to hear Rory in person and hear his heart.
This barn, one of the things that I love about this place is this barn was not built for this. I wrote a song called Some Beach that Blake Shelton recorded, and Some Beach allowed me the opportunity to build a barn that we called Some Barn. And this is it. That's this room. That's all this room is. And behind those pictures, there are those windows. We didn't even take them out. We just went over them. What happened was we were here, and we needed a place to put our lawnmower, and I loved old cars, and I would tinker around on old cars, and just had tools and stuff. And I thought I had won the lottery because we had a place here. But in time, when my wife and I's music career took off, she always, her dream was to be Dolly Parton. She's from Indiana, and she learned Coat of Many Colors, early on, and she just wanted to be Dolly Parton. I knew that, and she was so wonderful. I was like, you probably will be Dolly Parton, and I'm going to be married to Dolly Parton, which is going to be fine. Little did I know that I'd be traveling and be part of Dolly Parton's entourage, and Joey and I would get the chance to do all this stuff together. But what we found out in chasing our dreams, and as we started touring the country, and we were on award shows and won all kinds of things, and we were all over the place, she was so miserable. We were at the ACM Awards in Las Vegas, and we're in there's 10,000 people, and we're in the front 3 rows. All of our heroes are all around us. And my wife was unimpressed by all of it. But for me, I was impressed because I was like, how in the world did we go from the rafters, or actually I wouldn't even be here, from the rafters to right here? And even more than that, what was really surprising to me is we were right there, and I found myself looking around going, what does any of this even matter? Like, it doesn't mean, it felt like nothing. And we're like, this is the pinnacle, and the pinnacle feels like nothing. It feels like a farce. Not that it wasn't a nice thing, it just didn't feel fulfilling. And we had been there and done a lot of things, but anyway, this one year in particular, I think in 2010, my wife and I were there, and we were up for mail. We might have won the duo or something, I don't know what it was, but I knew in that moment, like, I knew we were not coming back. She was done. She decided, she didn't decide because she wouldn't decide. My wife was a very traditional woman. She would let me decide. But all I had to do is watch and know what she needed, and I wanted what she wanted. And she needed the opportunity to be here. We had been here, and then she wanted to chase her dreams, so we did, and it was amazing. But she didn't want to sing about living on a farm. She wanted to live on one. And sometimes your dreams, those dreams that the world tells you should want, they will cost everything. Everything. And she realized it, and I knew it. And so my job was, how do we come home and quit, but don't quit? How do we come home and build a life and grow a music career, reach an audience, and not leave home? So I pushed all of our stuff out of the way in our barn, and my wife made these curtains, and we hung them against the wall there, and we hung some lights up, and we made a little TV special for Christmas one year, and it was amazing. And from there, we decided to make our television show, and then it became more, and then next thing you know, we didn't leave here anymore. We didn't have to leave here anymore. People would travel from all across the country. We were in their living rooms, sharing our story and our hearts and our songs and other people's stories and other people's hearts and recipes. and all sorts of stuff, and pieces of our life. And pretty soon, people would come here, and we would just walk across our driveway and sing. And she got to be Dolly Parton, but in her own way. And it was better. In time, you know, this place would go from my man cave to being a place we would hold square dances in here. We made television shows and all sorts of stuff, and then my nephew, who's probably, I think he's working out there at the merch table, Hayden, he had his prom in here. We had birthdays and Thanksgivings and all sorts of stuff, and wedding receptions. And then one day, when Joey got sick, and after she got sick, we had a funeral in here, which I never saw coming. And it was the greatest thing in the world. I mean, if you gotta have one here. I mean, have one at your home. And if you have to bury somebody, bury them at your house. I mean, who gets that gift? For me, it's just like when I got here, there's just a bunch of stones leaning all over the place and some trees out in the back field. But for some reason, even though I can't really afford fencing, I put fencing along the front, and I put fencing around that cemetery for some reason. I didn't have any cows to keep out. I just felt like there must be some reverence or something. And then we would like imagine someday maybe we would end up there. Someday, a long, long time from now. But instead, someday was sooner than we thought. And then this place would become different. You know, when Joey was sick, we couldn't go on the road. Now we had to be able to make a living and walk across from our driveway. And it became a necessity. And then when she passed away, and a couple years later, I didn't sing for a couple years, then I started singing. The only way I could sing is I had a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old, and God knew it. And I have a 7-year-old, and you're here. And I'm so excited that this place has become this. We do shows here. We don't do Homestead conferences. Like, my problem with music is like, I want meaning. I want it to mean something, more than just music. It means something more to me, but you guys have really brought that this weekend, and all the speakers and all that stuff. I'm saying all that stuff to come around to, I have a phrase that someone told me years and years ago that I've lived by for a long time, and that is, go out on a limb. It's where all the good fruit is. And what that means to me is that you have to look at life this way, which is, we are all standing underneath of a great big tree of life. And we want the best things that life has to offer. We want our dreams to come true. We want the marriage that we hope and prayed for. We want a homestead. We want the job we've dreamed of. Whatever it happens to be, we want the good fruit. But the problem is we're all standing underneath of that tree, millions and gazillions of people reaching for it, and it has already been picked. Everybody's got the easy stuff. And we're wondering why we don't have the life we want. And it's cost us nothing. We're afraid to leave there because it's our safe place. But sometimes you have to go out on a limb. You have to climb up that tree. You have to pick a limb and you have to shimmy out. You have to get to a place where it's scary and you have no idea if you're going to fall. And quite often there is no one else on that limb because they're smarter than you. But not really, because on that limb is all the good fruit. All the magic is there. It's where God really does what He does best. You just have to do your part. And so for Joey and I, it's again and again. It's recognizing that maybe God wants this to be more than just a place to store a lawnmower, and going out on a limb, saying it's over, but maybe it's not over. Maybe there's something else, or building a schoolhouse when I have no idea what in the world we're doing. So I just want to encourage you, wherever you are in your homestead journey, don't be afraid to go out on a limb.